and welcome. My name is Esther. I'm the Danish stitcher, and this is my floss tube. Today is going to be a special floss tube because this is going to be a whip parade. I had actually planned to do my whip parade, and sorry for the noise, that's some cat being naughty. I had planned to do all 3 videos today. That means my whip parade as well as my German and English floss tube. But yesterday evening, my niece announced that she was actually coming to visit me for a couple of days. My niece is 7 years old and she is the one who would like to learn how to cross stitch. So I'm very excited, but that also means that I only got time to do 1 video today. And since on my Instagram I made a poll and it said about 63%, I think, voted for Whip Parade, and that's why I chose to do that today. And actually I'm glad that I'm doing that today because I have quite a lot of things to show you in this parade. I did a little counting and I got 52 active whips, and I got 2 whips I'm going to say bye-bye to, and then I got 5 whips that I don't know what I want to do with, so I put them on, you could call it a death row. So on December the 31st, I'm going to decide whether I'm going to say goodbye to them completely, or if I'm going to keep them, but still not knowing when I'm going to stitch on them again. But let's get started. So I put this up. I put all my whips in different categories. Instead of taking them in chronological order, I decided to put them into a category. So the first ones are the 2 I'm going to say goodbye to. Actually, I already did. I have showed you this book before with all my whips in it. You know, I write all my whips here. And as you can see, where was it? For example, one of them here, there's a cross over it now, and as said, and I've written delete on it as well. I thought it was a bit too macabre to write deceased, so I went for delete. So let's get started. I'm probably going to, as long as my projects are in bags like these, you all know these bags from Amazon, I'm not going to tell you anything about the bag. And I would probably cut while I open and take out because it makes a lot of noise. I might tell you a bit about the project bags, the proper project bags. I haven't decided yet, so time will tell. So the first one, one of those 2, I have put in the category called bye-bye because I will not throw them out. I will actually cut out what I stitched and then keep the fabric, the rest of the fabric. So the first one is called First Eek Avenue, and it's from Just Crostin's Halloween issue of 2020, and I started it on May the 13th last year. And it's on 14 count Ada, hand dyed by me. And as you can see, I did not do much. So I'm lazy, so I'm just going to cut it out here and then keep the rest of the fabric. Yeah. So the next one, it's also from Just Crossed Its Halloween 2020 issue. This is called Shadows Whisper, and I started it on the 25th of May, and it's on 25 count white antique Lugana, and this is how far I got. And the reason why I'm abandoning both of these projects is that they do not speak to me, and they were also already the, what you could call the weak link when I decided which project I would like to stitch for this mania. So it has been quite easy for me to decide, nah, I don't want to stitch more on these. So now we move into those projects that have been put on what I call the death row. That might sound a bit macabre, but that was the best thing I could come up with. I apologize. But those are the projects where I'm not sure if I want to continue or not. But I still feel kind of attached to them, so I don't know what I'm going to do. So I have given them until the 31st of December, and then at that time I hope that I will be able to decide what should happen to them. So the first of these projects is in this bag, and it's from an Etsy shop called Amelia Exjoy. She's from the UK. I love her project bags, and before Brexit I bought a lot of her bags. In this one we have Chris Norman, who is my favorite singer. I have several favorite singers, but he has been my favorite singer since 1975, so that's quite a while. And I think one of the reasons why I feel a bit stuck in this one is because I used to do it from a paper chart, and then I succeeded in getting it into Pattern Keeper, and now I have to pinpoint all the stitches I already did, and some way I think I got it a bit mixed up or messed up, so I'm not quite sure which stitches in his face I have done and which I haven't, especially in his hair. So, but also I'm pretty far. I mean, I have stitched 17,954 stitches on him. That means I'm 72.84% into this one. So maybe it will just go on a very long break, and eventually I'm going to finish it. I don't know. So, yeah. Oh, and I forgot to say I started him on the 23rd of March in 2020, and that was actually the first project that got me back into cross stitching because of the lockdown. Back then I still thought that you could only have one WIP at a time. Well, I don't think that anymore. So the next one is also one of Amelia's bag, in one of Amelia's bags, a little bag like this one. It's a little Christmassy bag with houses on. It's my stamped Christmas, the only stamped project I've ever done. I mean, not that I'm done with it, unfortunately. Anyway, I am pretty far, but I have run out of one of the green ones, and I know I should just take my DMC floss card and find out which color is similar and then just continue. The problem is I hate stitching on this one. I really like the motif. I think it's a very nice motif for winter, not so Christmassy, but winter motif. So I would actually like to finish it, but you know, the problem with stamped projects like this is that, I mean, where's an example? Well, if you look down here, you know, I only took some of the red. the stamp stuff doesn't always fit the holes. It's damn annoying. So I really don't know what to do with it. What do you think? I mean, I do have time until the 31st of December to find out. And I am allowed to put it onto a very long break, but I would actually like to hear what you think. Would you finish this one? Or would you say bye-bye to it? So let me hear your thoughts. Okay. The next one is in this cat bag, also from Amelia Exjoy. I think almost all of my project bags that I bought, I bought from her. I think I got 2 I didn't, and I have forgotten where I bought them. But if I find out, I will put the name in the description box. So this one, I think it was my second or third project back in 2020. I started it on the 19th of April. I plan to stitch it for my niece, and somehow there's a problem with the pattern, because when it did go into Pattern Keeper, but it's as if it made an extra row of stitches. So I'm not sure I'm going to finish this one. Besides, my niece, she doesn't know I'm making it. So it's on a 14 count dark gray Ada. So it's these 2 girls from Frost 2, Anna, and I haven't got a clue what's the name of the other one. I kind of have the same problem with this one as with Chris Norman, except for the fact that I have a problem in Pattern Keeper with this one, because I did so much on it. I accidentally threw it. I accidentally deleted it from Pattern Keeper also, so I really don't know what to do. The next one is also in a bag from Amelia, and this is also cat fabric. She has a lot of cat fabrics. This one is called Darf ich einziehen? Can I move in? And I started it on the 4th of July in 2020. And it's by Owen, and the pattern was from the Stitch magazine number 20, and it's on 16 count easy count. I have stitched 2,838 stitches on it. And as you can see, I have not ironed, and I'm not going to iron when I'm doing my WIP parade, because there are way too many projects. It's actually kind of cute, but the same is a problem here. First I used it as a normal PDF, the pattern, and then I got it into Pattern Keeper, but you cannot search the symbols, so I have to manually put in each stitch I already did, and that's a bit boring, to put it mildly. So I also don't know what I'm going to do with this one, because I'm not sure I want to finish it, even though I think it's a very cute motif. I could find just as cute motifs, similar motifs, just as cute, that already would fit into Pattern Keeper. And I mean, it's not that I lack patterns I would like to do. If it wasn't because I have way too many patterns, I have considered doing a pattern parade, but I'm not going to do that because I have way too many. Because after my aunt passed away, I inherited all her Danish patterns, so I have several books with patterns, and no way I'm going to make a pattern parade. So, and the last one on this list, it's actually a pattern I did myself, and I call it cross stitch cushion, and it looks like this. Yeah. I'm not that happy with it. Probably because I have moved on to more nerdy stuff. I mean, you could say that from a cross stitcher's point of view, this is actually pretty nerdy, but you know what I mean, I think. So, but maybe this would also just go on a very long break. So, on the 6th of February 21, I started my star pillow, which you have seen quite a lot of times, and that's in a bag with the same fabric but just a smaller bag. The next one is also in a bag like that because I really love that bag, or that, yeah, also the bag, but I really like that fabric. So this is my star pattern. It's going to take some years before I finish this one, and that's okay because I use it mostly as a travel piece or a meeting piece. So I don't always stitch on it, and that's okay. And it's from this book. And I think there's a picture. Yeah, if you look at that one, there you can see the pattern. And I think mine looks actually better because I use the variegated floss. I use the silks oxide from Miss Sedas. I have succeeded in making this as a pattern in WinStitch and export it to Pattern Keeper so I can count my stitches. So far I've done 13,991 stitches on it, and there are plenty more to do. So the next one is from this old one. It's from the 70s. Here you can see the bees on a bag. I'm not going to do the back. Actually, I was using this for practicing stitching on even weave, and I'm still not done. And I had planned to do 3 bees altogether, and I'm still at bee number 2 because I have a lot of other stuff going on. But they're stitched on 25 count even weave, and I think it's called Antique White. And they look like this. Eventually I'm going to finish it. And the more I think of it, I think I will just finish this bee, and then I will make 2 small pillows, I think, or maybe I put them into a little frame, and then that's it. And the rest of the fabric, I can probably find use for it, otherwise I can always dye it, right? I like to dye fabric, in case you didn't know. The last Danish pattern, it's also in a bag from Amelia. As you can see, she has a lot of wonderful cat fabrics. This is Tutankhamun. It's from Permin, and it should look like this. Oh, just a moment. Okay, I'm back. One of the cats. So what I was saying, this is Tutankhamun. It's from Permin, and I'm stitching. This is a restitch. I bought this pattern in 1988 or 89 and started it. And back then I think it was an 18 count Black Ada. And I think I found it too hard, also because I only could use a pattern, a paper pattern. And you know how much I dislike paper patterns? Well, I didn't dislike them back in the 80s because that was all I had, but still. So eventually I decided to restart it, and I chose to go for a 16 count Ada because I'm still not very fond of stitching on black Ada. And I started it on the 29th of March last year, and so far I did 690 stitches. And since I cannot tell you the percentage because this is one of those PDFs I actually managed to get into Pattern Keeper, but you can not search the symbols, which means that it counts every field as a symbol. That means it says that this one has about 20,000 stitches, and it doesn't. So I only know how much I have stitched on it. That were my Danish patterns of Danish whips. Let's move on to Galliana cross stitch. I have 3 of hers. They are also in a bag. This is kind of a knitting bag, but still from, you can see, AXJ. These are of course the Victoria Street and the Rose Street. So let's start with Victoria Street, and it's way too big to show on this one. I'm going to try it anyway. It looks like this. I started this on the 11th of January 21, and it's on 16 count black Ada, and I used the variegated floss DMC 4060. So far I have stitched 11,725 stitches. That means I'm on 62.03%. I haven't stitched on it for a year or so. I got so tired of black fabric. So I don't know when I'm going to stitch on it again, but of course I want to finish it eventually. The other one is called Rose Street. I started that one on the 17th of January, and it's also on 16 count black Ada, and here I use the variegated DMC called 4230, and it looks like this. And I have done 2081 stitches on it. That means I'm at 10.69%. And the cat you can hear now is Felix. And he might be pretty annoying at the moment because he thinks he's going to have something to eat, and he is not. But maybe I have to because he keeps annoying me. The last Galliana cross stitch I'm working on is this sale going on this year, Christmas window. I started it on the 1st of January, and it's an 18 count light blue Ada, and I use Sedas silk called Copper. And I know that the camera doesn't catch the rich color of the copper, so I'm going to put up a picture so you can see how it actually looks in real life. I have stitched 6,291 stitches. That means I am at 25.23%. I really like how that turns out, and I haven't stitched on it for some months, and I know it's Christmas in July, but at the moment, as you probably know, I have 2 sales going on, 2 nerdy sales going on, and they keep me quite occupied, so I don't know if I will have time to stitch on this one. Actually, I do not think I'm going to have this finished by Christmas this year, but then maybe Christmas next year. Okay. So maybe I could finish it if I really put an effort into it, because as you know, I do stitch a lot. That means in this month, June, that is luckily over now. I mean, the month of June 2022 has been awful when it comes to stitching. If you follow me, you know I have this challenge where I would try to stitch 100,000 stitches in this year. I have surpassed that one. I'm at 130,000 stitches now. So now and there we have the damn annoying cat, but I still love him. Yeah. So you're making a cameo on my floss tube now, huh? Yeah. Sorry about that. Where was I? So I have counted, and I noticed that in a period from the last floss tube until now, I only stitched about half of what I did back in February, March, in almost the same amount of time. I'm going to tell you more about that in my next floss tube. So let's move on. Now we move on to a group called Maria Brovko. She's also known as Cutepatternsbymaria on Etsy. Felix. They are in this project bag. This project bag is actually the only project bag I made so far. I would like to make more, but I need time for doing it. And of course you could say, but Esther, you got summer holiday now. Yeah, but there's a lot of stitching I would like to catch up on. So anyway, I have made two of her, I mean they are done, you have seen them before, two of her Easter eggs, but I'm planning to do more. I want to make the one with the tulips as well, so it's not done. That's why I still call it a whip. And then there's a sunflower egg. This is actually one of my whip goals for July. I should stitch 500 stitches on a spring project, and you must say an Easter egg that is clearly spring. So this one I started on the 14th of March, and so far I did 377 stitches. That's about 47%. On a whip go I did 280 out of the 500. So I still need to stitch a bit more on this in this month. So let's move on to Madame Chantilly. I have two projects. One of them is called Halloween Owls. I began that on the 25th of June 21. It's on 16 count Ada called White Chocolate, and so far I did 841 stitches. It has really been a while since I have stitched on this one, but so far I haven't got it into Pattern Keeper yet, so it might take a while before I stitch on that again. I had just finished Halloween Town. I think if you follow me on Instagram you have seen it. Otherwise I'm going to show it in my next floss tube because it's an FO. And I also bought En Retard because I really love the way it looks. It's the same kind of, I mean, this is just a Christmas version of Halloween Town. I did, let me see. It's on 16 count Ada called Misty Blue, and so far I did 482 stitches. And again, this pattern is not for pattern keeper. That means I have to put in a PDF by myself, and then I cannot search the symbols, and that means that every field counts as a symbol, so I do not have a percentage. But that's okay. I can still mark them, and that's the most important thing. Now it's time for weather whips. I got two. This one is also in a bag from Amelia. And this first one is Hello Sunshine from Caterpillar Cross Stitch. It was a mystery sell, and I never got any further than part number 1, and I'm still at part number 1. Quite embarrassing, actually. I started on the 28th of May 21, and it's on 16 count Ada called Amethyst Cloud, and it looks like this. And I don't know why, I just don't. Oh well, yeah. I just got it into Pattern Keeper, and that means I have to mark all the stitches I already did. And I just didn't get to that yet. I think it's such a... I mean, I know I have to do it. I know that I want to do it, but I think it's such a waste of time. Time I could use stitching instead. And I think I feel this way because I didn't get as much stitching done in the month of June as I'm used. And then, of course, we have my temperature trees, or Météo by Jardin Privé, and that's in a Star Wars bag, also by Amelia. And my trees are almost up to date. I think I lag a day or two, and I started this one on the 2nd of January this year, and each house is 39 stitches, and so far I did 7,215 stitches plus the trees. And this is on Snow on Grey 16 count Ada, and it looks like this. And as you can see, some of the latest almost reddish brown houses have got yellow eyelets in them. And that's because on these days we had 25 degrees Celsius, that's 77 Fahrenheit, which means that we officially had what we could call a summer's day. So we have to have at least 25 Celsius before we can call it a summer day. And so far we had 5 of these. July and August tend to be the warmest month here in Denmark, but there's no guarantee that it will get any hotter. At the moment we have about 20 degrees, which suits me just much better because I'm really not good with the heat, which is also not correct. I like it when it's warm. My problem is the humidity, because here in Denmark when it's very hot it's also very humid. That means for, you know, when we had those 3 days in a row, one of the days the humidity was 88%. It was awful. I should have been to a party. I had to cancel that one because I had such a headache and felt unwell because of the humidity. So now it's time for the Christmas winter whips. Again, a yarn bag also from Amelia. This first one is the only Emma Condon I'm stitching. It's called Snowway. It's from a magazine, and I think it's from Cross Stitcher, but I forgot to write that down. I started it on the 29th of January in 21, and it's on 16 count Ada called Misty Morning. And it looks like this. And I have not stitched on it for quite a long time. But now I have got it into Pattern Keeper, and I have marked how far I got. So it's only a matter of time, and then I'll start stitching on it again. From Cross Stitcher magazine. Next one again, a little cat bag from Amelia. This one is the night before Christmas, which I started on the 7th of February, and I did quite a lot on it this year. It's on 14 count light blue Ada. It's going to be a, I should have ironed it. It's going to be a stocking, and it's from the Cross Stitcher magazine of December 2020. And I forgot. Oh, it's that big. So here you can see I still need to do this corner down here, but I'm getting closer. And then comes the next challenge. How on earth do I get this into, how do I make it into a stocking? Because I have never done a stocking before, but there must be some YouTube videos showing how to do that. I mean, there are YouTube videos about everything, right? And here we have another Amelia Exjoy bag. It's also a winter bag. I try to make my project bags match the project in it. It doesn't always happen. I don't always succeed, but a lot of times I do. So this is Shannon Christine Designs, called Looks Like Christmas. I started it on the 22nd of February last year. It's on 18 count Ada oat called Oatmeal. So far I did 774 stitches, which means it's an 18.2%. I have another Shannon Christine design. This is called Snowfall. It's huge and I haven't stitched much on it. I started it on the 27th of April last year. It's on 14 count Ada called Yorkshire, and so far I did 983 stitches, which means I'm just at 5.27%. And as you can see, I chose the teal version. So back in November, I decided that I would like to try stitching on plastic canvas, because I found in the World of Cross Stitch magazines, I found a Christmas village, and I thought it looked fun, and it looked like a nice kind of ornaments or decorations for Christmas. But when you stitch in hand and you're used to doing the sewing method, stitching on plastic canvas is awful. So I didn't get very far. I only did this. But I'm actually thinking about cutting it out. That might be easier to stitch on it then. And there are about 9 buildings or so, and each building has 4 pages of 4 sides, so that might take a while. So I'm thinking maybe if I could just make one house a year. I don't know, maybe I will just make this one house and that's it. So the last Christmas whip is another Heaven and Earth design, another Hate. I bought it quite a while ago, but the other day on the 30th of June, I decided, well, now it's time to have a new start. Actually, I think I had 5 new starts that day. But hey, I like to stitch, so. Well, sorry for that little break here. I might have moved the camera because I had to look up this Hate because I forgot to write down some of the information about it. So the next one is this Hate. It's called Here Comes Santa Claus. Its artwork is by Randall Spengler, and I have only done about 293 stitches on it so far. As you can see, there is a big border which I have decided to skip. Felix, what are you doing? Could you please move? So I'm just going to make it as a circular pattern. That means it saved me for more than 40,000 stitches. Otherwise it would have about 120,000 stitches, I think. And I have a long time ago decided that I prefer that my whips never get more than 100,000 stitches, because I'm not that patient a person. I really admire you, all of you who stitch one hate after another and hates with 200,000, yeah, up to 1 million stitches. I couldn't do that. Felix, stop. Just a moment. I'm going to take care of my little cat. Well, sorry about that. He is really kind of annoying today. Anyway, let's now move on to the next group, which is Halloween. And it's by far the largest group. I have 16 current whips Halloween projects. So we might as well get started. The first one is also in a bag from Amelia. I think it's The Daily Prophet from Harry Potter. And the first one is the Halloween Hoot Owl. The first one I saw stitching it was Noah Stitches. And I found it in the Just Cross Stitch Halloween issue from 2014. And I started it on the 27th of February. And this one I do not have in Pattern Keeper. So actually I shouldn't stitch in it. But I have put it into markup where it works. So that's alright. And I think it's very cute. And as you can see, I do some of the back stitching as a stitch, because otherwise there's way too much back stitching. I'm still working on the hat. And I think it's so cute. And it's on 16 count Aida, which I dyed myself. That was actually one of the first fabrics I dyed. The next one is a hands-on design. It's called Blissfully Unaware, and I started this on the 3rd of May. And it's on 16 count Aida, hand dyed by me. And again, I have put it into Pattern Keeper. Oops. I have put it into Pattern Keeper, but it counts all feels like stitches. So I only know how much I've stitched from day to day, because I need that number for my stitch challenge. And I really like how this comes along. And I actually think about making that, because this down here, it's full of hands, grabbing hands. And I'm actually thinking about making the ones in the middle to stitch that with glow in the dark. But I really like this pattern. The next pattern is actually quite funny, because I got two patterns with the exact same name. Something Wick This Way Comes. This one is, I started on the 9th of May last year, and it's from Just Cross Stitch Halloween issue of 2020. It's on 14 count Aida. And as you can see on the picture, it's a lot of geometric patterns, but I only want to stitch this one and then the other one down, and then that's it. And then I would probably turn it into a little pillow. I never intended of stitching all of the pattern, but I just like the way these letters looked and the colors. So as you can see, also the fabric isn't big enough for the whole pattern. The next one is called Happy Halloween. It's from the German designers called Lindner's Kreuzstich. And this is, I started on the 11th of May 21, and it's on 14 count pale lilac Aida. And again, I do have this in Pattern Keeper, but I can only use the number of how many stitches did I do today. And I haven't stitched on this for a very long time. Actually, I don't think I stitched on it for since May last year. But eventually I will come back to it because I still like the design, even though there's a lot of backstitching in it. The next one I also haven't stitched on since I started it. It's called Halloween and Black Cats, and I started it on the 13th of May 21. It's by Soda Stitch, and I did it, I do it on 16 count Aida, hand dyed by me. So far I did 886 stitches. That means I'm at 19.24%. And it looks like this, and I really like it, and I don't know why I didn't stitch more on it. So I'm going to put it into my big basket of whips I would like to work on at the moment. Because you know I am a moody stitcher. That means I actually have my basket with whips I do not want to stitch on, and then I have a very big basket with whips I like to work on at the moment. And I think I'm going to move this from the basket until the bigger basket. And talking about the bigger basket, this is what I'm talking about, and it's full of whips. This next whip is called October, and it's from Flosstubers from October 2018. It's on 14 count Aida, hand dyed by me. So far I did 454 stitches. And it looks like this. And again, I haven't stitched on it for a while, and I don't feel like stitching on it at the moment. So it's going back into the little basket. So now I have 4 pages here. Now we are moving on to page number 3. So we are about halfway. This next one is from Jardin Privé, and it's called Halloween. I'm stitching. And I have started this one on the 21st of May 21, and it's on 25 count mushroom. And I used the call for DMC, but the green in her face is Misusida Silk number 16. And I don't know why I haven't stitched more on it, but I think it was kind of overwhelming with all those Halloween projects I started last May. So eventually I will come back to this one. And also I have noticed that it's harder for me to go back to a project when it's on even weave than if it's on Aida, because Aida is definitely my favorite piece of fabric. I don't like linen, and I'm probably never going to stitch on linen. So, but that doesn't mean that I don't think that projects stitched on linen aren't beautiful. They are, but I just no. I think, besides the fact that linen isn't even, and that therefore it would probably make it way harder for me to stitch on it, and maybe it wouldn't be that hard to stitch on it, but it would definitely be hard for me to make the stitches look nice since I stitch in hand. And maybe that's the reason why. And besides, I usually don't like the feeling of it. I think it's too rough. And I do know that Aida can be very stiff as well. So I just can't explain it. I just don't like linen that much. So Let's move on. We still got a lot of whips to show you. I still got a lot of whips to show you. This next one is also one of the projects I have only stitched on that one day where I started it. Again, this one is a project I will continue eventually. This is called Picture Poison. I started it on the 22nd of May and it's from Just Cross Stitch Halloween issue of 2020. And it's on 16 count Ada, hand dyed by me. And I love the colors. I think it looks beautiful. But again, a lot of backstitching. And maybe that's also why it's a bit hard for me to go back to. I don't know. So the next one is actually 3 projects, but since they are on the same piece of fabric and also the designer is the same one, it's Jan and Christine. It's called Spooky Silhouettes and it's from... I got them from a magazine, but I think you can also find them on her website. But this is how far I got. Not that very far. I'm using different kinds of threads. Up here it's just black. And here it's Exjoy silk called Redwood, I think. And down here I think it's Sedas silk called Chocolate. Yeah. And I started these... The witch I started on the 26th of May, and the pumpkin on the 24th of May, and the owl on the 28th of May. And this is going to be the owl. And it's on 14 count Ada, hand dyed by me. The next 2 are again on the same piece of fabric. One is called Happy Boo Day. I started that one on the 27th of May, and the other one is called Merry Friday Night, and I started that one on the 29th of May. And they are on 16 count Ada called Parchment, and the pattern is from the World of Cross Stitch. And as you can see, I didn't do much and I haven't stitched on it since. And again, eventually I will come back to them. The next one is by Waxing Moon Designs, and you have seen one of them because I finished that one a long time ago, this creepy house. But I'm also doing the other 2 of the trilogy, the haunted house and the spooky house. And the haunted house I started on the 19th of May, and the spooky house on the 30th of May, and it's on 16 count Ada, hand dyed by me, and I use Weeks Dye Works as well as DMC. And this fabric is not that blue in reality. It's a bit more teal colored in reality, but it still looks nice. And now we finally came to the last Halloween project. This is also called Something Wicked This Way Comes, but this one is a pattern by Autumn Lane Stitchery. And I started this on the 26th of December last year, and I do it on 16 count Ada, hand dyed by me. I was watching Stitch by Liz's Flosstubers, her WIPPARADE the other day, and she was also doing a pattern by Autumn Lane Stitchery, and she said that she didn't like stitching trees because she miscounted. I hear you, Liz, because I had the same problem. I had to frog most of this tree and go back because I missed a row. But it turns out all right. I haven't stitched on it for a while, but eventually I will go back to it. It is in my big basket, so. Oh yeah, and the needle minder. I don't remember if I ever showed you. But it says Danish Stitches Whip. You know, it's funny with needle minders, because a lot of them, they're actually quite heavy when you stitch in hand. I mean, if you use a frame or what you call it, Q-snap, etc., the fabric is tight, but sometimes the weight of a needle minder can actually be quite annoying when you stitch. So actually I usually prefer using the needle. I have a huge collection of needle minders, but most of them I do not use because they are way too heavy. I just like to have them. This one is an exception, but when I do stitch in it, I move the needle minder down so it doesn't disturb me. Let's move on to the next category, cats. The first one you have seen since I started my floss tube. I haven't stitched on it for years. This is also a bag by Amelia, and it has got a lot of cat hairs on it. This is called I Love Cats. I started it on the 18th of June 2020. It's by Rainbow Stitcheress from Etsy, but I don't think the shop exists anymore. It's an 18 count white Ada, and I did 3,151 stitches. That means I'm at 70.63%. And as you can see, back then I really stitched, I really cut my fabric very close. I have stopped doing that, but I think I will still be able to fit it into a frame. Otherwise I'll make it into a pillow. As you can see, I finished with the letters. I just need to do the cat's face, and I do have it in Pattern Keeper. It's just so right now it's even in the small basket because I really don't feel like stitching it, and that's the way it is. This next project is my hate, and that's in probably one of my biggest fabric project bags, and it's again from Amelia, and this cabochon is one of my cats, Scipio. Actually, it was one of my WIP Go goals for June that I had to stitch 1,000 stitches on it, and I managed to stitch 1,001 stitches on it. This is how far I am. I have told you in some of my other floss tubes, this goes very well, that I am from now on, since my problem with John Hart, I'm trying to avoid too much confetti by the end, which is why I have decided that I'm not allowed to move any further until I filled everything here. And that's what I'm doing. So the 1,000 stitches I recently stitched on it actually all went into the bird cage. And you can't see that. Yeah, if you saw a photo on how it looked before, you would be able to see that. I did put a photo up like that on my Instagram. But here in this WIPPARADE, you're just going to see how the finished photo will look, or the finished project will look. As you can see, I'm still on cat number 1. I am allowed to move down here in case I'm getting tired of all this confetti. But as you can see, I'm very close to have finished this as well. So it's just a matter of time, and it's still in my big basket because I really enjoy stitching on it, even though it's confetti. And because it's confetti, I got so tired of confetti that I haven't stitched on my other confetti projects for a while. This bag I also bought on Etsy, and I don't remember where. I will see if I can find the shop, and then I will put it down in the description box. And if not, I'm sorry. This was actually the first project bag I bought. This one, I wish I could finish it because it's really nice, but I really like the way black looks, but I'm so not good at stitching it, especially on 28 count opalescent even weave. What was I thinking when I started on this project? I mean, if I had done this on Ada, I would have been done by now, by far. But this, I'm glad the cat is black, because I made so many mistakes in this. I mean, if you started looking thoroughly through my stitching, you would see that some of the crosses are bigger than the others, but because it's black, you cannot see it. And I just decided, so what the, and then as you can see, I only need to do the back stitching, the black work. I started this one on the 27th of June, the 20th of June in 2020. It's a pattern by Peppermint Purple. It's called Black Work with Art. It's called Black Work with Cats, and you can still get it on her shop. As I said, it was a 28 count even weave, and it's called Buttercup, and it's opalescent. And I think it's going to look absolutely stunning when it's done. But it's in my small basket, because I really don't feel like stitching on this at the moment. The next one is called Sewing Cats, and I haven't stitched on it for a while. It's by Sedas. I started it on the 27th of April 21, and it's on 16 count pewter grey Ada. And it has a lot of backstitching, but the backstitching does everything. Just look at this cat. I mean, I'm not done with the backstitching, but where I did the backstitching, it looks absolutely marvelous. But in the moment, I don't feel like stitching on this one. Probably because it's not in pattern. Yeah, I did put it into Pattern Keeper, but I haven't stitched on it since I got it into Pattern Keeper, because I haven't marked the stitches yet. You know, it's funny that tasks like that, having to mark up stuff, can actually be the reason why I stopped stitching on a piece of... I stopped stitching on a whip, at least for a while. On the 30th of June, as I said, I had 5 new starts, and one of them was this called Cat Christmas Tree. I bought it 2 years ago, and I never got around to starting it. And then I decided the other day, because I have had it kitted up for at least a year, and I thought, no, now I'm going to start it. It's by Climbing Goat Designs. It's on 20 count Ada light gray, and so far I did 246 stitches. That means I'm 6.4% into it. And this is how it looks so far. I enjoy stitching this one. Therefore, it's in my big basket. Nerdy stuff. Those of you who follow me will know that I have had quite some problems with the next one. Actually, this is my third restart of it. The first time I started was on the 19th of December. You can go back and watch if you want to see what was the problem. I can say that the problem was something with the threads, the floss I chose, because this project has so many quarter, half, 3/4 stitches that you just can't believe it. And using a variegated floss in all those, with those kind of stitches, well, I'm not a good enough stitcher to do that, because I lose my patience. So eventually, the first time the fabric was wrong. The next time it was because I used the variegated floss. And the third time I decided, okay, I'm just going to do it with black. 310. Because then it would be all right. but it still has got all those 3/4, half and quarter stitches. Well, anyway, I restarted this for the 3rd time on the 24th of March. It's by Illusion Cross Stitch on Etsy. It's on 25 Lugana, hand dyed by me. So far I did 237 stitches. That means I'm at 3.34%. So I might be annoyed with all those quarter stitches, etc., but it does work. So, but I'm so tired of this project at the moment that I'm actually thinking after this WIPPARADE, I'm going to put it into the little basket, because now it has been in the big basket for, since I started it, and I haven't stitched on it since. So I think it needs a timeout. And we have now moved on to the last page of our project list. And the next one is my Buffy sampler, the one I designed myself. I started it on the 9th of February. It's an 18 count Ada, hand dyed by me. So far I did 22,715 stitches, which means I'm at 80.58%. But that's the full crosses. There's a lot of back stitching I still need to do. So everywhere you see a blank spot, I mean, except for 2 places, 2 or 3 spots where I still need to do some cross stitching, but otherwise all the other places there's going to be back stitching. But I love it, and you cannot see it. Yeah, you can. Like if I hold it like this, you can actually see everything. And it turns out just as I hoped it would. And I love it. You can see I'm doing up here, I'm doing a pentagram, and I have started filling out the B, and the book to the right is going to be filled out as well. And below the cup, the kiss cup, I need to make another book, and I think the rest of the free spots are going to be for quotes in backstitching. But I really love this one, and I am trying to, or anyway, my plan is to make that book so I have something to fill out, because it's nice if I join Stitch with me as a live, or if I join a Zoom call. It's very nice if I can stitch on something where I don't need to count at the same time, because it's quite difficult to count and talk at the same time. Here's another little bag from the same person as the Snoopy bag. And this actually has a capuchon that tells me what's in it. It's my Diablo logo. Actually, thinking of it, I shouldn't have made this one. I should have made one for the Diablo Immortal, because I started playing that. Anyway, this is how far I got. I started this on the 2nd of April this year. It's on 16 count black Ada. I did 607 stitches. I'm at 39.57%. Yeah. I still don't like stitching on black, but I still keep it in my big basket. On the 11th of February, I started the video game sampler by Screaming Heart Design. I'm doing it on 16 count Ada called Café au lait, and so far I did 6,137 stitches, and I have it in Pattern Keeper as 2 files, so I don't know the percentage, but this is how far I am. at the moment. So I just need to finish this row, and then I'm done with the first parts, and I can delete that from the pattern keeper. And I use Miso Cedar silk called Avatar, and then I use some 3801 as well as DMC 310, and I love the way it turns out. On the 27th of May, Stitched Up by Lauren started her free Buffy sale, and of course I had to join that one, even though I knew that the Supernatural sale was going to start right after. I'm doing this on 18 count silver Lurex, hand-dyed by me. I do not have it in Pattern Keeper since it's not compatible, but I do have it in markup. And I'm up to date. That means I didn't finish the frame. I'm going to finish I have decided on this one that I will finish the frame when I get the last. There are going to be 3 here, and then 4 here, and then I will stop. And the first one here is the master with his fruit punch mouth. And of course I'm using a Buffy needle minder, a heavy one, so again when I stitch on it I move it down because otherwise it's very annoying. As I said before, the 30th of June I had 5 new starts. I have recently finished my John Lennon and made by Okidli Crafts, and I also purchased Keep Calm and Listen to the Beatles from that shop when I bought the other one, and then I started that one. And I'm also doing this on this Ada called Musical Notes, but this one is an 18 count opalescent Ada. And I'm using the Miso Cedar silks called Pride, which looks like this, just a minute. It looks like this. As you can see, so a lot of colors, and this is how far I am. I almost finished the guitar. I have done 294 stitches. I'm at 4.91%. So one should think that one pattern with Keep Calm should be enough, but no. Because back when I bought that Buffy sampler, I also bought a Keep Calm and Stay Inside the Salt Circle from the TV show Supernatural. This one is also in a bag from AXJ. It's a winter bag. It has nothing to do with the theme whatsoever. I have not done that much on this one. I'm only this far. It's on 20 count Ada iridescent, hand-dyed by me, and I'm using black sulky. And I've done 568 stitches. That means I'm at 9.33%. And I love the way it turns out. In case you didn't notice, I love my sparkly fabrics. That's almost the only kind of fabric I dye now, because I love the way it turns out. Now we're moving on to portraits. And we'll start with Captain John Hart, which I'm not going to show you. I said quite a while ago that I was not going to show him to you until he's done, because he's a real pain in the... I started it on the 13th of July last year, so it's almost a year from now. It's an 18 count opalescent Ada, and I did 6,000, sorry, no, 61,552 stitches. That means I have less than 1,000 stitches left. But I haven't stitched on it for 2 months. I'm at 98.49%. I cannot tell you why I don't just pull myself together and stitch, let's say, just 20 or 30 or 50 stitches every day, because then he would soon be done. But I'm so fed up with all that damn changing the colors all the time, which is also why I haven't touched the Witcher for quite some time, but more about him in a moment. So Captain John Hart, you will only see this picture of, I think that's the last picture you saw of him. And I'm not going to show him until he's done. And you will know, as soon as you can see he's in that empty frame over there, you will know that I'm done. That I actually managed to finish him. However, you are going to see the Witcher. And you know, now looking at it, I need to stitch on him. I love this project. But I'm also getting that confetti hell problem, which is why I decided I'm not allowed to stitch over here until I filled all this. I started this one on the 31st of December. It's an 18 count Ada, and so far I did 29,087 stitches, and I'm at 51.53%. And I really hope I soon want to stitch on him again. Jesus. Hey. Because he's gorgeous. And I know I'm not the only one who has a soft spot for the Witcher. Right, Kelly? And Belushi Stitches. And I know there are more people who are stitching on the Witcher. Not this, because this pattern I did myself, but there's another pattern of the same motif that a lot of you are stitching. So, yeah. He's still in my big basket because I know that probably here in the summer holiday I will have time and I want to stitch on him again. The most recent portrait I'm doing is another spike portrait. This is has artwork by Philip B.A. Murray. I converted his digital painting into a pattern. And so far I did 3,715 stitches, which means I am at 6.65%. And as you can see, I have learned from my mistakes with Captain John Hart as well as the Witcher, because I never stitched like this before. And actually I'm considering whether I should try the diagonal, or whatever you call it, you know, where it goes like this and you stitch like that. But I haven't decided yet. I haven't stitched on this for more than a month now. Not that I'm tired of it, I just didn't come to it, because in the month of June I was so tired that the evenings where I was able to stitch a bit, I wanted to stitch in something very easy because I was so tired. I don't know how many evenings I spent at work in the month of June, but it's always like that when we arrive at the month of June, because we have a lot of social activities with our students as well as their parents. So it's okay. It's just I haven't been used to it the last 2 years, and all of a sudden everything comes back because we have no restrictions whatsoever, even though COVID is still rising here, the new one. But no restrictions, which means that we had a lot of social activities in my school. So I hope to come back to this one soon as well. And now we are almost at the end. Only got one group left, which is my favorite designer, the Witchy Stitcher. At the moment I'm stitching on 3 of her designs. And the first one is in this bag, again from AXJ's Amelia Exjoy Etsy shop. This one is a Patreon pattern only. It's called Coven, Sweet Coven. I started it on the 7th of May, and it's an 18 count Ada hand dyed by me. So far I did 1,207 stitches, and I'm at 69.33%. And it looks like this. And when it's done, I'm just going to frame it and put it somewhere. Probably not here on my, as you can see, I have more stuff on my nerdy wall now. But I don't think I'm going to put up more on that wall until I'm done with the Witcher, because I want the Witcher to be there, right next to the quotes from the Witcher, the songs from the Witcher. I think this video is going to be about 1.5 hours or so. The last start I had on the 30th of June was That's No Moon. I started this on the I started this one on the 1st of July because it's my whip go that I had to stitch 500 stitches on something with dark fabric in the month of July, and so I chose this That's No Moon, and it's on 16 count Ada called Al's Dark Magic by Chromatic Alchemy. I did 974 stitches, that means almost the double as I should, and I'm at 36.3%. And if you're into Star Wars, you will so maybe I should turn it the right way around. You will recognize it's the Death Star. And Darth Vader and R2-D2. And I really like this fabric. I think it's beautiful. And it's not that I'm going to use all of it for this project. So you see there's still quite a lot, and it's really beautiful. So Michael, Star Parade, you were looking for some dark blue fabric? Maybe you should look at Chromatic Alchemy and this one, because maybe that's what you're looking for. This is Ada, but I'm quite sure they have even weave as well. And the last one, wonder what that could be. I think you have guessed already, right? Of course, it's a supernatural cell. I never did cryptid. I will probably never do cryptid, but as soon as I read about supernatural, for this I'm using one of my cones of doom, the black cone. And again, this is on hand-dyed fabric. So I started it on June the 1st. It's an 18 count silver Lurex, as I said before, hand-dyed by me. I did 5,544 stitches on it. And I cannot tell you the percentage because I don't know how many stitches there are in the rest of them. And it looks like this. And my border matched up. And this is the first one, it's the siren. So far I have used the called for DMC. I'm not sure I will continue to do that. That depends on which creature comes next. So we'll see. And I think the next pattern is actually, I think it's on the 8th of July, which is the same day where the next installment for the Buffersal is going to arrive. But the Buffersal pattern will come to me probably around midday. I don't remember when the last one came. So that will give me time to stitch most of that, and the Supernatural doesn't arrive. The last time, the frame I didn't get until 7:20 p.m. and the siren pattern I got 6:40 p.m. That means I have the whole day to stitch on the Buffersal before. So, but I have my niece, and I think it's on Friday, right? And I have my niece here, so maybe I will not have the time to stitch. But well, she's going home again on Friday, so I will have time to stitch eventually. Okay, so that was it. I'm through with my whip parade. I hope you've enjoyed it, and as soon as it's possible, I'm going to record my normal floss tube. Of course, now you have seen my projects, but as I do have a little haul, and I do have a lot of fully finished objects. You can see some of them on the wall here. So I hope you will stop by anyway. But for now, I'm going to say goodbye and take care.